And the reason why I went with the tan color is because Troy Tulowitzki was using it, and now I can't shy away from it.
World Series, first and third, 1 out, who's hitting, like that's how you treat your game reps.
I'm here with Nolan Arenado and Donovan of the St. Louis Cardinals. We are opening up the Rawlings Experience here in Westport. We're always so curious about how people, landed on what it is that they end up gaming. Like, what was the journey there? Like, were there maybe different gloves you tried along the way? How'd you land on this color? I know it's like newer than not, so what your thoughts are there?
Yeah, I think, this model I've always used since I got it my senior year in high school. It was always I always use a size 12 for some reason. And when I played third base, that's usually what you should probably use, something a little bigger than a middle infielder glove. And then the reason why I went with the tan color, maybe a little lighter than this sometimes too, I always go back and forth, whatever feels right. It's because Troy Tulowitzki was using it, and I wanted to kind of just be like him. And so I just started using it, and now I can't shy away from it. So, there's some cool colors nowadays, but man, I don't know. There's something like when I put it on my hand, it has to have that tan look, and that's just something I've always done.
Just classic, dude. You can't beat it.
Yeah, can't beat it.
For sure. Well, I've also seen you, you've rocked the red label, you've rocked platinum, you rock, what influence is that? Is there a difference between each of those?
Well, I think it just matters what feels right in my hand. I remember the first year I won the gold glove, the next season I put gold on it. I made like 2 or 3 errors in Colorado in one of the first home games, and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I could wear that right now. So I went back to the red. But and then I got over myself, and then I started using it and started making plays again. But there's definitely times where I get a little superstitious, I guess.
Yeah, ball players are known to be.
Yeah.
Brandon, kind of the same thing for you. Just what was the journey to what it is that you ended up landing on there?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of the H-Web. I kind of wanted a clean, very basic look. Maybe a little different, but I kind of like when it shows a little dirt on it. I think that's just kind of my style of play. But I just wanted something that looked clean. I've used this glove really since I got into pro ball, and I've used Rawlings pretty much since I was a kid. I think as a kid you always dream of having your own glove and having your own glove on the website, so this is a pretty cool thing for us.
What is the what's the model and what's the length? This is your game glove, right? And it's just the retail model. So what's the model?
Yes, this is the Gameday 57. It's an 11.5 H-Web. Obviously, our guy Stevie over here, it's kind of, hey Stevie, same thing every year. Just chop up each glove, each model, and we get them in the mail a couple weeks later. But man, I'm a little biased. I'm like Nolan. I kind of same thing every time, and you use one for game, you use one for BP, and then you slowly transition the next one in.
There was one spring training where Ichiro went through like 50 gloves, no exaggeration, to try to find the right one. So the process of falling in love with a gamer, I know Nolan, you were saying what feels right, but what are those cues for you? Maybe is it a certain rigidness in a certain area? What does that look like for you?
I don't know. I feel like for me it's more of how I could squeeze it and how my hand fits into the glove.
Right.
Once it fits right, then I'm, obviously I'm like, okay, I could break this in well. If for some reason it just doesn't fit well going into the hand, or I feel like it's taking me forever to squeeze it, then that's usually where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna feel good about this one. But that usually isn't the case. So, I just try to rotate them out. But for me, like I said, it has to I feel like right when I put my hand in, I can tell which glove I want to use right away. For sure.
Is the same for you, Brendan, or different?
Yeah, so I use a little different. I use a Pro Preferred. I do like mine a little stiffer. And I've used the same gamer for the last couple years. I think I wanted a little stiffer, and then my process for breaking them in is just put it on my hand and just try to use it in BP, play catch with it, take ground balls with it. And then over time, it just naturally molds to your hand, and I think that's kind of, you put it on, there's no real thing that sticks out. It just feels like it's a extension of your hand.
Yeah, sometimes you can't describe it, bro. I have a bunch of these Rev gloves, and some of them straight up just feel better than others, and you can't really put your finger on it, but I hear you guys. Yeah. Brendan, for you to lead off on this one, Nolan was saying before, you played damn near every position besides pitcher and catcher, so prep wise, I know we've been talking a whole lot about the gloves themselves, but prep wise, what are you doing to get right along the way?
Well, first, watch. I think that's the biggest thing, watch. We've got a lot of great defenders. Obviously, you got Goldie, and you got Nolan and Tommy and guys like that you get to watch every day go about their business. I think that's the big thing, especially for young players, is watch what they do. And I know everyone's unique in their own style, but you can always take things away from them and learn from them. And then 2 is like a mindset thing. It's like when you're a utility, you're never really comfortable because you're kind of all over the place. So it's being comfortable, being uncomfortable, expecting the ball to be hit to you, because they say the ball will always find you, and it's true.
Sure does.
You're at a new position, you're going to get the first ball of the game, and you need to be ready. Or it's going to be a tight situation, and you haven't gotten one, and you're going to get that ball. It's just how baseball works. And then I think the next one is just reps. If you're at that spot that day, get the reps there. If you're not in the lineup, whatever it may be, try to hit 2 positions. And then if you snag the DH, try to hit 2 positions. That's just how I go about it. And our staff does a good job of kind of making sure I'm prepared. But those are my 3 things there.
So something you mentioned was just reps, and Nolan, I've seen you in previous interviews just talk about taking 1,000,000, before a game. But like at what point do you feel prepared during that practice, prior to a game, taking those reps?
Well, obviously batting practice right before, but it has to be done a certain way. Just because I go take ground balls in batting practice doesn't mean that doesn't mean I got my work in. It has to be efficient. It has to be right. I have to make good throws. Once I feel like I do that, then I feel like I can go in and be like, all right, I'm prepared. But, like I said, it has to be efficient and it has to be right. I have to hit the guy in the chest on my throws. All those things matter to me when I'm taking ground balls before games and getting prepared.
Nolan, we'll have you start with this one. So, like, high magnitude situation, right? Bottom of the 9th, corners. You got a pull righty up. Like, what are you saying to yourself in those moments to keep you in a good headspace defensively?
Wow.
World Series, by the way.
World Series, okay. All right, well, fans hitting, scoot back, and try to keep it in front. But I think for me, like you said, it all depends on the score. Score matters. If he hits it soft, I'm probably going to go home. If he hits it hard, if I feel like the guy that's hitting is slow, then I'm going to try to turn double play. But like I said, if the score is 1 run, then I'm probably going to go home with it, make sure we get that run. But like I said, it all depends on the score, depends on who's hitting, and that's usually how I go play.
Ozzy said something yesterday. I heard some interview he was talking about how he wants to be in the subconscious mind. Does that like ring a bell to you? Like what he means by that?
I mean, I don't know. When I hear that, I kind of think it as like flow state. You're just lost in the game. You're just trying to like react to whatever situation happens. But I think you do have to run through something before it actually does. You have to know, like, before the ball's hit, I'm not like, okay, if it's hit this way, I'm going to do that. No, I'm just trying to react and make a play. But right when people are on first and third, and the inning, the batter's walking to the play, that's when you start to run through like, okay, if this ball's hit a certain way, I got to do this. So. I think that's kind of, I think probably flow state. That's kind of how I would take it.
How about you, Brendan? What's your thought process there?
It's the same situation, same scenario. Your manager, let's say he takes you from the outfield, he brings you into second base. Like, what's going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, so obviously the situation, the speed of the runner and the speed of the ball. So you got to know based off of the speed of the runner if you can turn the double play, the direction in which the ball's hit. All those things. And then like from a second baseman aspect, you got to know like where you're at on the field, who's hitting, and then number one thing is just cutting down that run. Like if you get a double play ball, it's just making sure you're under control, making sure you're making good feeds. The game doesn't speed up. I feel like sometimes we speed the game up, so making sure you're staying calm, under control. If I'm in the outfield and that ball is hit and it's a taggable ball, then I'm making sure I'm coming up and I'm trying to throw it straight to home, cut that runner down. If it's a shallow hit ball and they're not going to tag, make sure I'm still throwing to the cut, but I'm throwing it lower. That trail runner is going to try to take the base behind me, and then you got 2 runners in scoring position. So, our corner guys do a great job of kind of taking those feeds and cutting down those runners. So as long as you're throwing it low and through the cut, I think you got a good chance.
Both players have a lot of time to talk. Brendan, we'll go you here. Like, what's a tip you've picked up from like these especially like goated defenders that you've gotten to interact with?
Yeah, it's preparation based, mentally and physically. Like he was just talking about it, like the attention to detail and the work that goes in. It's why they have success, and it's why they do it for a long time. Is because every day you're showing up, you have a game plan, and you're just attacking that game plan. You're not taking any reps off. And we're talking about World Series, first and third, 1 out, who's hitting. Like that's how you treat your game reps, and that's how they treat their game reps. And as a young player coming up, that was something that I learned. It's like if I can treat my game reps like that, then when I get in the game, maybe you can go subconscious, like Ozzy's talking about.
Right. Nolan, kind of the same thing for you. You know, infielders have a lot of time to talk. You know, what is maybe a tip or two that you've picked up from guys of like that caliber?
I've always taken a lot of ground balls, and I love taking a lot of ground balls. But you know what I've learned is the best players do it efficiently, and they get their work in and they get out. You know, at the end of the day, there's so many games in a season. You know, you can only take so many, but as long as you do it efficiently, then you can get in quicker and make sure your body feels good for that game. And when I watch great players do it or great fielders, they just do it efficiently. They make sure they hit the guy in the chest and they do it right, and then they get ready for the game. And that's something that I've learned that I apply. And don't get me wrong, there's times to really overwork and take a lot and stuff, but because you want your instincts to sooner or later take over. And the only way your instincts take over is when you actually try different things and they start to become natural. But just doing things efficiently.